on top of all these benefits, we're going to actually go into benefits, but like the wisdom of nikah, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it, if I could recap, there's just so much wisdom to nikah. Tranquility, love, compassion, and then all these aspects about us supporting one another. You get a lot of support in nikah. Let alone your in-laws are supposed to be a support of, a source of support as well. It's an extended family. But you and your spouse, there's a lot of khayr happening. That's what we talked about so far. Now, even if you didn't want any of that, which, there must be something wrong with you. You didn't want that. I'm not saying some people didn't get married. No, that's okay. I'm just joking here. But if that wasn't enough, it's also sunnah. So if you're not motivated by what we discussed, then at least the fact that it is sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And anything he does, whether you understand it or not, is worthy of following. In one hadith, he says, 4 things are among the sunnahs of anbiya, prophets, messengers. 4 things. Henna. Right? So the sisters putting on henna, saying it's sunnah, but he put it on differently. He didn't make the little flowers on the hand. He put on the hair and the beard. According to some narrations, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would have a dark henna. Some say he didn't put any at all, but he's saying in this hadith that it's henna. So dye. And men are supposed to avoid black dye. Avoid black. Fragrance. And one thing we notice about this is very beautiful. It's all about being a human being. He didn't talk about a lot of salah or sadaqah. It's about being very presentable. Fragrance. All prophets. You think a prophet, you think, oh man, he must be praying so much. He's kind of disheveled, maybe dusty, praying so much. But no, they're very beautiful. Fragrance. So deodorant is part of that. Itar is part of that. Ramadan's coming up. We need to take a lesson. Some of us just say iftar, and then you got the various burps coming up. You can smell what he had. You can tell which culture the person's from. Also, no fragrance, and then you can also see if he went to the gym or not that day. Fragrance, miswak, dental hygiene, right? And marriage. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, sunnah of not him, but him and prophets. You might say, well, what about Isa Alayhi Salam? He'll come back and get married. Don't worry about it. Isa Alayhi Salam's covered. Some narrators, instead of henna, they said haya. As in Arabic, they're spelled the same way. And back then, they didn't have dots. So hinna and haya is spelled the same way. So some say instead of henna, he actually said haya. It's both, one of the two. Haya meaning modesty. So this is one hadith that tells us that it is a clear sunnah. There's no doubt about it. How much more explicit can he be? But on top of that, it's not just sunnah, it's very emphasized. And one way we tell when something's emphasized is if there's a warning to it. Right? If there's a warning along with it, then you better do it. People are going to ask, well, what about Imam Nawawi? What about Imam Ibn Taymiyyah? They didn't get married. Well, there's some difference of opinion that if you prefer ibadah and knowledge over marriage, it's rewardable. That's obviously not the opinion I follow. You can follow it, no problem. No one loves Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, Imam Nawawi, bismillah, go ahead. Follow their way. Another hadith. Those wealthy enough for marriage and don't get married, it should be those, if there's anyone who is wealthy enough for marriage and does not get married, they are not from me. It's a warning. Do you want to be among the ummah of Rasulullah or the follower of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? He says, if you're wealthy enough to get married and you don't, then I don't want to do it. And he says, you're not falaysa minni. You're not from my way. This is not my way. This is kind of a warning, and it's a little bit scary. And a third hadith. So there's a story to it. Let me just mention the story, and then I'll bring the quote. 3 people came to the wives of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They wanted to know about Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So they were seeking Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And they came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and they started, they found that his wife was home, and so they were asking, about Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So one person, he said, I'm going to pray all night for the rest of my life. Just nonstop. When I won't sleep, the whole night, tahajjud, till I die. He made that oath. He was saying that. Another person was like, well, I'm going to fast for the rest of my life. From now till I die, every single day I will fast. And then a third person said, I will never get married in my life. So the wives of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they heard this. And these people were talking, they were waiting for the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They're just discussing among themselves. So maybe they were in the masjid talking about ibadah, and they got like, pumped up for ibadah. And then they eventually said this. When Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came home, he was informed of what they said. So he came out, he was kind of upset. And he said, are you the three that said this? They were like, yeah. I'm going to pray tahajjud every single night. I'm not going to sleep a moment. The other one, fast every single day. The other one, I will never get married. Thinking that this is ibadah. What did Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam say? He says, by Allah, I am the most fearful of Allah. I have the most fear of Allah. And I am the most conscious of Him. I have the most taqwa. You guys cannot touch me. He's basically telling them. However, I fast and I eat. Talking about the guy who wants to fast every day. Some days I'll fast, some days I'll eat. I pray and I sleep. He was talking about the guy who wants to pray all night. Some nights I sleep and then I'll wake up and I pray tahajjud. So I do both. And talking about the third one who doesn't want to ever get married, I marry women as well. And then he told him, he who is averse to my sunnah is not of me. So he changed their mindset. They were leaning towards extremism. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam corrected that on the spot. So if you want to follow the sunnah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, get married, inshallah. This is part of the sunnah. And this leads us to the intention.